Good morning. Once again, please, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Are you all right? Comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. You will need to take out your dictionary, your pencil, your notebook. And we will begin with an exercise in what we did last time. And then I am going to go on to the last and the final part of the section on stress in English words. So far we have looked at words which occur without any special ending. We have also looked at words which end in particular syllables, particular suffixes, and they have particular kinds of stress. Say for instance, look at the blackboard, and we have words like academic, university, mountaineer. Can you speak it after me? What is this?
Academic.
What is this?
University.
And what is this?
Mountaineer.
Now these word endings, and there are many more, demand particular kind of stress on the word to which they are attached. But there are word endings which do not make any demand of this kind. Say for instance, look at words like this. Okay, what is this?
Available.
Everybody please, what is this?
Available.
And this is?
Culpable.
Okay, so you see the same word ending but different kinds of stress. The best way once again is to do the drill and acquire these words. There aren't too many. If you have counted the number of words you have in the book we are using for the textbook for this course, you may have seen that we have fewer than 500 words to relearn. And once you relearn these 500 words, you pronounce not only these words correctly, you also pronounce other words on similar patterns equally correctly. Okay, but you have to relearn them. You have to do the drill. Your habit of speech has to change. Today we will be looking at those words which have word endings of this kind, of the able, etc. kind, which do not demand particular stress or stress only on the particular part of the word, right. But before we get into that, let us do some exercise to check how much we have already learned. Okay. Look at these words and I will give you exactly 2 minutes. Copy these words onto your notebook and mark stresses as you copy. Where you have doubt, look up dictionary. Where you have doubt, look up dictionary. Do it individually please. Okay. A self test. You are testing your, we did the drill in these words last week and we want to check now whether we've got them right. Okay. 2 minutes, your time begins now please. Finished? Okay, you have another 10 seconds. Okay, we may please stop. Right? Anyone who could do all? Raise your hand. Okay, lovely. Anyone who could do most? Okay, wonderful really. I know I'm putting you through very artificial kind of pressure, but then this is life. I want you to get used to looking up dictionary, quick consultation and all that. You are preparing for a all powerful speech, everything is fine, but if you mispronounce some word, then people don't have the right conclusions about you. So no matter when, now or 30 or 40 years later, when you make a presentation, particularly in public to your peer group, don't forget to check your keywords. Okay? Right. We will just check whether we got it right. We will go individually, each person will pronounce only one word, right, and everybody will do one word. We will begin at the end. Last row, my left hand please. Can you say the first word here? Can you pronounce? Sit down. You okay? Or is it all right if they sit down? You can pick them up, right? Okay, so you don't have to get up. Right. First word. Come again. Yeah, say it loud and clear. Absolute. Come again.
Absolute.
No, only one person, please. Others, please listen. Next.
Academic.
Next.
Arabic.
No, what is it?
Arabic.
This is an exception. It's Arabic. Okay. Next.
Cassette.
Next. Next. Next.
Degree.
Next.
Engineer.
Next.
Grotesque.
Next.
Geology.
Next.
Position.
Next.
Scientific.
Next.
Sincere.
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 Yeah, next.
Turmeric.
Next.
Vacation.
Next. Begin at the top.
Absolute.
Next.
Academic.
Next.
Arabic.
Arabic. Yeah, don't worry. It's an exception, We have to learn all of these things. Next.
Cassette.
Next.
Career.
Next.
Certificate.
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 Yes, next.
Degree.
Next.
Engineer.
Next.
Grotesque.
Next.
Position.
Last bench, please. Next.
Geology.
Next.
Scientific.
Next.
Sincere.
Next.
Human.
Next.
Vacation.
Next.
Absolute.
Next.
Academic.
Next.
Arabic.
No. Arabic. Next. Yes. Okay. Right. These are exceptions. Arabic and turmeric and that sort of thing. But there are only very few exceptions. If you look up the textbook carefully, you will see that. Right. In all learned presentations, by which I mean non-political speeches. If you analyze the way politicians speak, they mostly have simple words: can, get, take, give. But the discourse of science, the language of science, the language of academia is not always as simple. They sometimes have long words, okay? And it is important that you relearn or learn the pronunciation of some of these words. I am going to play to you a little audio clipping from somebody called Alvin Toffler. Okay. Anyone who knows about Alvin Toffler? Alvin Toffler is known as a futurist. Actually, he is, in my opinion, a sociologist who studies the changing behavior of people in society. So, he has studied things like how computers have affected us, how electronic media has influenced our behavior, how we are always after new consumable things. So, when I was your age, I remember, people used to buy one pen and it used to stay for their life. So, you go to museums and you see this is Mahatma Gandhi's pen, or this is Clive's pen, or that sort of thing. But now, we use and throw pen, we use and throw computers, we use and throw mobile phones. We have become a disposable society. Anything can change. Jobs are not permanent, even marriages are not permanent, even faces are not permanent, the color of hair is not permanent. You change cars, you change homes, you change wives and husbands, you change anything today. So, Alvin Toffler has studied the consequences of these things upon human civilization and upon human personality. He has a number of interesting films and books. If you have time someday while traveling, you can read some of these his books like Digital Revolution, Communication Revolution. One book I have not named here, but I would like you to read before you are 30, actually before you are 25, is please write. The book is called Future Shock, Future, Future Shock. Okay. All right. The clipping I am going to play now is a part of a talk given by Toffler to a group of academicians. This talk mentions how roles are changing from producer to consumer, and in what significant ways and how they influence us. So, I will play it twice. The first time I want you to pay attention to the text, the message, okay, the meaning, right. Relax, sit with your back to the desk and try and listen. But next time I play, I will like you to pay attention to stress on long words. Am I clear to you, please? Say yes or no. Yes. I am going to play it twice. First time I want you to pay attention to the meaning, the message, and the second time I will like you to pay attention to the pronunciation of Toffler, particularly the way long words are stressed. Okay? Let's see.
A combination of production and consumption, prosumption, prosumer. And that is the narrowing or the blurring of the boundary between the producer and the consumer. And we see that in many different ways, that we now have increasing numbers of technologies that arm individuals to do what they previously had to go to an expert or to somebody else to do for them. The simplest of that, when Heidi and I were growing up, which is a million years ago, we used to take a photograph. You wanted to photograph your family, you had to go to a drugstore, you had to buy film, roll of film, you then shot the pictures, and you went back to the drugstore. They sent it to Kodak up in Rochester, New York, and maybe a week later you had it back. Well, now we have the camera in your hand, and it makes that entire process makes it possible for the user rather than somebody else to make that process, and indeed increase better the process. And the fact is, I don't know how many of you worry about blood pressure, but you used to have to go to a doctor and say, "Doc, what's my blood pressure?" Now you can buy a blood pressure machine, you have it, it's your own, you do the job that the doctor used to do as far as finding out what your blood pressure was. And what's happening is that we're producing more and more technologies that arm the audiences, the users, and that changes economics, and I don't want to get into that as well. But in fact, each of us as individuals are creating value that economists by and large are not counting in the economic numbers, the metrics of the economy. And that's why there is a revolutionary change taking place in the economy as well. In any event, the line between consumer and prosumer becomes blurred. This suggests an approaching future in which viewers, in quotes, manipulate TV programs and storylines. Maybe they change the looks of the star from blonde hair to black hair or red. Make the hero lose and the villain win. Delete what they don't like in a program and put what they want into it instead. Insert a female lead where there was a male lead. And turn the drama into a comedy. Then send that version of your television program to their friends and who manipulate it further and put it online, and who knows, maybe charge for the new versions, and raising more and more complicated questions about intellectual property and so on. But the user is becoming part of the maker rather than just a passive recipient of what you produce. And finally, these are just a few of the changes taking place that are really important and I think not yet fully appreciated. But to give you some idea of what is happening, not just in the United States, I'd like to read you a few lines, a few figures. Even apart from the internet, these are not my statistics, these are somebody else's. Even apart from the internet, in the US alone, each day, there are more than 12 billion display and 184 billion classified advertising messages from newspapers, 6 billion messages from magazines, 2.6 million commercial radio messages, 330,000 television commercials, and 40 million direct mail pieces. Worldwide, in 2002, 18 exabytes, which they then put in parentheses, equal 10 to the 18th bytes, and I'm not enough of a mathematician to even know what those numbers are. Worldwide, in 2002, 18 exabytes of new information were produced through electronic channels, telephone, radio, television, internet, and 5 exabytes of new information were produced by print, film, magnetic, and optical storage media. This translates to 800 megabytes of recorded information produced globally per person in 2002, not including spam messages, which account for 60% of all email. Of course, bytes are not the only or best way to measure information, and the article goes on and says, another indication of the information flow is the more than 1.2 billion landline telephones, 2.1 billion cell phones that are in use worldwide, over 1 billion people, 18.9% of the world's population, use the internet, and so on and on and on and on. These numbers blew me away. And I think they should blow all of us away. And we should ask ourselves what the consequences are, not just the consequences of those on us, but how what we do affects that entire process, and what the longer-term implications for society is. What kind of society do we want? The transformation of the media that brings us here today is therefore only one aspect of the far greater economic, social, and cultural upheaval that we call the third wave, which is racing toward us as we enter tomorrow. Welcome to the rest of the 21st century.
Okay, we are going to listen to it again, but this time I want you to listen for words, all the long words, and Toffler has a lot of long words. Have one each, please. Have one each. And as you listen, you will have to be really smart as you listen, because Toffler is speaking at relatively, fast tempo. So as you listen, mark stresses on the words I have already given you. Okay, they are more or less in the order in which they occur, right? And mark stresses in the following manner. Mark a stress in this manner. Just underline the syllable which is stressed, or alternatively you can also do it this way. So either this or this. Okay, as you listen, mark stress on the given word. Has everyone got a copy of the text? If you have anyone who hasn't got a copy, okay. All else? Anyone else who hasn't got a copy? Okay, you don't have anyone who has two. I counted 35 and I brought. Arun, did you get one? Okay, you can have mine. Right, I'll later take the script back from one of you. Okay, I'm going to play it again. Listen carefully, don't be too anxious, and keep your pencil ready. You won't have time for second thought. Do you see my point? It could be this, it could be that. No, make up your mind as you listen where you hear and mark it underneath. You may be wrong, doesn't matter. Classroom is the only place where we can learn, even if we make mistakes. So don't be shy of making mistakes, but don't make the same mistake again. Okay, try and concentrate. It is about 6 minutes. 6 minutes is rather a long period of time for anyone to concentrate on, but it's not impossible. Okay, are you ready? Everybody please, are you ready? Do you have any difficulty with the message, the meaning? Are all these words familiar to you? Say yes or no. Sure? Okay, so let's go.
A combination of production and consumption, prosumption, prosumer. And that is.
Okay, another tip. If you miss some word, then don't insist on going back and doing that. Move to the next. Don't miss next. Okay, because we are going at a speed, it is possible that you miss a word or two. If you miss it, you miss it. Move to the next. Don't miss the next. Am I clear to you? Say yes or no, please. Am I clear to you? Am I clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but these are the choices you have to make. Okay, listen and don't get tense. We are playing a game. Some people I am very confident will do all words. Some people I know equally confident can't do all words. I am the latter kind. If I were sitting in your place, I am very confident I won't be able to do all words, but I will try. I will give it my best. So do concentrate and do mark it. Ready? Yes? Okay, let's begin.
A combination of production and consumption, prosumption, prosumer. And that is the narrowing or the blurring of the boundary between the producer and the consumer. And we see that in many different ways, that we now have increasing numbers of technologies that arm individuals to do what they previously had to go to an expert or to somebody else to do for them. The simplest of that, when Heidi and I were growing up, which is 1,000,000 years ago, we used to take a photograph. If you wanted to photograph your family, you had to go to a drugstore, you had to buy film, a roll of film, you then shot the pictures, and you went back to the drugstore. They sent it to Kodak up in Rochester, New York, and maybe a week later you had it back. Well, now we have the camera in your hand, and it makes that entire process, makes it possible for the user rather than somebody else to make that process, and indeed increasing, better the process. And the fact is, I don't know how many of you worry about blood pressure, but you used to have to go to a doctor and say, "Doc, what's my blood pressure?" Now you can buy a blood pressure machine, you have it, it's your own, you do the job that the doctor used to do as far as finding out what your blood pressure was. And what's happening is that we're producing more and more technologies that arm the audiences, the users, and that changes economics, and I don't want to get into that as well. But in fact, each of us as individuals are creating value that economists by and large are not counting in the economic numbers, the metrics of the economy. And that's why there is a revolutionary change taking place in the economy as well. In any event, the line between consumer and prosumer becomes blurred. This suggests an approaching future in which viewers, in quotes, manipulate TV programs and storylines. Maybe they change the looks of the star from blonde hair to black hair or red. Make the hero lose and the villain win. Delete what they don't like in a program and put what they want into it instead. Insert a female lead where there was a male lead. And turn the drama into a comedy. Then send that version of your television program to their friends and who manipulate it further and put it online, and who knows, maybe charge for the new versions, and raising more and more complicated questions about intellectual property and so on. But the user is becoming part of the maker rather than just a passive recipient of what you produce. And finally, these are just a few of the changes taking place that are really important and I think not yet fully appreciated. But to give you some idea of what is happening, not just in the United States, I'd like to read you a few lines, a few figures. Even apart from the internet, these are not my statistics, these are somebody else's. Even apart from the internet, in the US alone, each day, there are more than 12 billion display and 184 billion classified advertising messages from newspapers, 6 billion messages from magazines, 2.6 million commercial radio messages, 330,000 television commercials, and 40 million direct mail pieces. Worldwide, in 2002, 18 exabytes, which they then put in parentheses, equal 10 to the 18th bytes, and I'm not enough of a mathematician to even know what those numbers are. Worldwide, in 2002, 18 exabytes of new information were produced through electronic channels, telephone, radio, television, internet, and 5 exabytes of new information were produced by print, film, magnetic, and optical storage media. This translates to 800 megabytes of recorded information produced globally per person in 2002, not including spam messages, which account for 60% of all email. Of course, bytes are not the only or best way to measure information. The article goes on and says, another indication of the information flow is the more than 1.2 billion landline telephones, 2.1 billion cell phones that are in use worldwide, over 1 billion people, 18.9% of the world's population, use the internet, and so on and on and on and on. These numbers blew me away. And I think they should blow all of us away. And we should ask ourselves what the consequences are, not just of the consequences of those on us, but how what we do affects that entire process and what the longer-term implications for society is. What kind of society do we want? The transformation of the media that brings us here today is therefore only one aspect of the far greater economic, social, and cultural upheaval that we call the third wave, which is racing toward us as we enter tomorrow. Welcome to the rest of the 21st century.
Okay, I'll give you about a few seconds to check if you want to change something. Okay? Did you get them all right? Were you able to mark them all? Were you able to mark them all? How many did you miss? Okay, not too many. Were you able to mark them all? Were you able to mark them all? How many did you miss?
About 10.
Okay. You, how many?
About 3. 3 to
About lovely. You did a good job. Were you able to get them all?
Maker.
Okay, that's great.
Maker.
Were you able to get them all? Okay, but were you able to mark them all? Were you? Okay, I'll give it back to you. Can I take it from you? And you can at the moment share with your friend. Okay. Okay, once again, okay, we will check whether we got these right. So what I'll do is ask each of you to produce a word, and each of us will produce one word. Okay, we will go in in sequence, one after the other, and each person pronounces one word appropriately with correct stresses and correct sounds. Right? Do you understand? Okay, we'll begin here with you. First, please. Next.
Production.
Next.
Consumption.
Next.
Consumption.
Next.
Glory.
Next.
Boundary.
Next.
Between.
Next.
Producer.
Next.
Consumer.
Next.
Different.
Next.
Increasing.
Next.
Previously.
Next.
Simplest.
Simplest. Take time. Next.
Million.
Next.
Ago.
Next.
Photograph.
Photograph. Next.
Family.
Next.
Picture.
Next.
Camera.
Next.
Entire.
Next.
Process.
Next.
Pressure.
Next.
Doctor.
Next.
Machine.
Next.
Measure.
Next.
Happen.
Next.
Produce.
Next.
Technology.
Next. Okay.
Economics.
Next. We'll go back. Next.
Revolutionary.
Next.
Economy.
Next.
Consumer.
Next.
Economy.
Come on. Okay, begin. Do the next. Yes. Next. Right. Next.
Hero.
Next.
Villain.
Next.
Elite.
Next.
Comedy.
Next.
Worship.
Next.
Complicated.
Who said VERSION? How do you pronounce it?
Worship.
That version. Version. Okay. Okay, go again in sequence. Next.
Question.
Next.
Intellectual.
Next.
Property.
Next.
User.
Next.
Maker.
Next.
Passive.
Next.
Recipient.
Next.
Finally.
Next.
Fully.
Next.
Appreciate.
Next.
Idea.
Next.
Statistics.
Statistics. Next.
Statistics.
Next.
Million.
Next.
Classify.
Next.
Advertising.
Yeah, advertising. Yes. Next.
Messages.
Next.
Magazine.
Next.
Commercial.
Next.
Electronic.
Next.
Channel.
Next.
Translate.
It will be translate. Next.
Education.
Next.
Information.
Next.
Culture.
Cultural. Next. Okay, you see, the simple point is, next time you watch television, if you do, even if you watch a feature film, even if you watch a movie, sometimes some part of the show, please pass it to my friend last, some part of the show, try and pay attention to the language as a student, meaning fine, and you will understand and appreciate meaning better if you can appreciate the language better. Okay? And if you listen better, it is nearly inevitable that you will also speak better. Okay? but this is the culture. This is an attitude we have to create. So, what I am trying to do is drawing your attention to these things, and all of these things, all the audio clippings I have played are freely available on YouTube. You just type Toffler and you will get Toffler and select what you want to listen to. Or the last week I played Carl Sagan, type Carl Sagan and you get some of these things. These people are the leaders in your field. If you want to be like them or better than them, you will have to see what they have done and you will have to do that better than them. Am I clear to you? Okay, right. Let's get into the book and let's do some exercise with other words. Okay. Okay. I will say it first and you will follow me. Okay, we will have some drill. Accessory, admirable, autonomous, binary. Can somebody please take over?
Biography.
Stand up. Yeah, one of you, please. Yes.
Biography.
Arbitrary.
Auxiliary.
Yes.
Bureaucracy. Laughable. Commentary. Diplomacy.
It is diplomacy. Yes.
Diplomacy.
Go on.
Documentary. Ecology. Preparatory.
Preparatory. Come again, please. Preparatory. Okay, what we can do is, let's go to the book. Would you mind opening on page number, in my copy of the book it is 111. Does everyone have a copy of the book here? Please share it. I have 2 or 3 copies. I have 3 copies. Please share it with friends. Don't you have access? You can sit next to Arun. Yeah, Arun, don't you have a copy? Sit with somebody. Become 4. Okay. Right. Sit with your friend. Okay. And the same way. Once again, I am trying to tell you that some of these things, they can be boring if you do them for half an hour, but they are extremely, they are time tested methods of learning if you do them in the form of drill. How many of you know that arithmetical table 2 ones are 2? How many of you remember that table? Can you raise your hands? 2 2s are 4, 2 3s are 6. How did you learn it? Was there a rule? How did you learn it? Your mother bribed you, your father threatened you. In some cases it was the other way around. Your father bribed you, your mother threatened you. But doing the drill today, you remember, if I ask you 19 5s are, who will tell me immediately? 95. Okay. So it has to be like that. So drill is not always bad, provided you do it regularly and do it for limited period of time, short period of time. In the school I went to in my village, these drills were done either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. I am doing it at the end of the day. Okay, shall we do it? Okay, I don't want to embarrass you by asking how many of you are doing it in the hostel, but if you are doing it, that's marvelous. Get into groups and do it. Please follow me and then I will expect one of you to take over. I will say who takes over and I expect one of you to rise and begin, but just now follow me please. Okay, ready? Abominable, aboriginal, ambitious, admirable, admissible, affable, autonomous, anomalous, amenable. Somebody please, who will take over? Yes, please.
Audacious, considerable, assiduous, atrocious, auspicious, available, continuous, covetous, creditable, cultivable, curable, despicable,
despicable,
judicial,
judicial,
honorable,
honorable,
hospitable,
hospitable,
illustrious,
illustrious,
impressionable,
impressionable,
improbable,
improbable,
inalienable,
inalienable,
inapplicable,
inapplicable,
inaudible,
inaudible,
grammatical,
grammatical,
incalculable,
incalculable,
incapable,
incapable,
incomparable,
No. Incomparable. Come again. Yes.
incomparable,
incomparable,
incompatible,
incompatible,
indisputable,
indisputable,
industrial,
industrial,
integral,
integral,
interval,
interval,
Okay.
irresistible,
Yeah, right.
irresistible,
judicious,
judicious,
lamentable,
lamentable,
laughable,
laughable,
lovable,
lovable,
marriageable,
marriageable,
medieval,
medieval,
miserable,
miserable,
municipal,
municipal,
That is municipal.
municipal,
Come again, please.
municipal,
objectionable,
objectionable,
palpable,
palpable,
pitiable,
pitiable,
practicable,
practicable,
presentable,
presentable.
Okay, you can sit down. Next, somebody please take over on the following page. Yes, please. Yes, stand up.
Proposal.
Proposal,
Reasonable.
reasonable,
Religious.
religious,
Reputable.
reputable,
Respectable.
respectable,
Responsible.
responsible,
Ridiculous.
ridiculous,
Seasonal.
seasonal,
Superfluous.
superfluous,
Tribunal.
tribunal,
Vaporous.
vaporous,
Variable.
variable,
Go into the next section, okay? Accessory. Please continue.
Accessory.
accessory,
Adultery.
adultery,
Ancillary.
ancillary,
That is ancillary.
Serious.
Yeah, go on.
Aristocracy.
aristocracy,
Binary.
binary,
Company.
company,
Anarchy.
anarchy,
Apology.
apology,
Artillery.
artillery,
Biography.
biography,
Acrimony.
acrimony,
Anticipatory.
anticipatory,
Arbitrary.
arbitrary,
Auxiliary.
auxiliary,
Bureaucracy.
bureaucracy,
Category.
category,
Symmetry.
symmetry,
Centenary.
centenary,
Commentary.
commentary,
Contrary.
contrary,
Contributory.
contributory,
Coronary.
coronary,
Corollary.
corollary,
Cursory.
cursory,
Democracy.
democracy,
Depository.
depository,
Derogatory.
derogatory,
Dictionary.
dictionary,
Diplomacy.
diplomacy,
Documentary.
documentary,
Explanatory.
explanatory,
Extraordinary.
extraordinary,
February.
February,
Hereditary.
hereditary,
Hypocrisy.
hypocrisy,
Idiocy.
idiocy,
Imaginary.
imaginary,
Incendiary.
incendiary,
Inflammatory.
inflammatory,
Inflationary.
inflationary,
Introductory.
introductory,
Laboratory.
laboratory,
Lavatory.
laboratory,
Laudatory.
laudatory,
Library.
library.
Okay, thank you. You can sit down. Let's go to the next section on page number 113, section 3. Okay, who would like to do it? Okay, please stand up. Somebody, please. Page number 113, section 3. Yes, please.
Abortive.
Abortive,
Abusive.
abusive,
Accumulative.
accumulative,
Accusative.
accusative,
Additive.
additive,
Adjective.
adjective,
Go slow.
Administrative.
administrative,
Accusative.
accusative,
Aggressive.
No, it's aggressive. Come again.
Aggressive.
Yes, go on.
Alternative.
Alternative. Come again. Next.
Appreciative.
appreciative,
Apprehensive.
apprehensive,
Assertive.
assertive,
Attractive.
attractive,
Attributive.
attributive,
Authoritative.
authoritative,
Collective.
collective,
Communicative.
communicative,
Comparative.
comparative,
Competitive.
competitive,
Comprehensive.
comprehensive,
Compulsive.
compulsive,
Conservative.
Yes.
conservative,
Consecutive.
consecutive,
constructive,
constructive,
consultative,
consultative,
cooperative,
cooperative,
It is cooperative.
cooperative,
Yeah, go on.
corrective,
corrective,
corrosive,
corrosive,
deceptive,
deceptive,
deceive,
deceive,
No, decisive.
decisive,
Yeah, go on.
decorative,
decorative,
defensive,
defensive,
definitive,
No,
definitive,
definitive,
definitive.
definitive,
Yeah, go on.
demonstrative,
demonstrative,
derisive,
derisive,
derivative,
derivative,
descriptive,
descriptive,
detective,
detective.
Okay, you can sit down. Come to page number 115. Okay, section 4. Who would like to lead? Somebody please stand up. Yeah? Yes? Why not? Yeah?
Abstinence,
Abstinence,
abundance,
abundance,
abundant,
abundance,
Go slow, Ashwini.
accident,
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 accompany,
accompanied,
accordance,
accordance,
accountant,
accountant,
adamant,
adamant,
adherent,
adherent,
Adherent.
adherent,
adjacent,
adjacent,
adjutant,
Adjutant.
adolescent,
adolescence,
No, it is adolescence.
adolescence,
Go on.
advance,
advance,
advent,
No,
Advent.
Advent.
affluent,
affluent,
affluence,
affluence,
as in agent,
agent,
agreement,
agreement,
elegance,
allegiance,
Allegiance. Okay, next.
alliance,
alliance,
allowance,
allowance,
ambience,
ambience,
ambulance,
ambulance,
ancient,
ancient.
Okay, thank you. Next. Who would like to take over? Come on, please. Okay, come to the next section actually. Okay, this is rather a long section. Okay, we'll quickly do the exercise here. Once again, all I'm trying to do is to tell you how you can relearn and acquire proper stresses on long English words, and it is these words which occur more frequently than the others in academic discourse. Okay, when you and I speak in scientific seminars and conferences. Okay, let's come to the exercise on page number 120, and I would like each of us to say one word aloud. Can we, Kiran, begin with you? First word? Yes. Next.
available,
Next.
incompatible,
Next. Behind you, please. Yes.
superfluous,
Next.
centenary,
Next.
obligatory,
Next.
theory,
Next.
executive,
No, executive. Next.
repetitive,
Repetitive. Next. Next. Okay. Come to this side, my left hand, please. You can say it. Next word.
Antecedent,
Antecedent.
antecedent,
Next.
consistent,
Next. Next. Next.
divergence,
Okay, divergence.
despicable,
Despicable. Yes. Next.
integral,
Next.
tribunal,
Next. Next.
periphery,
Next.
definitive,
Aparna, louder, please.
definitive,
Next.
Imperative,
Next. Next.
asterisk,
Okay, in this group, please. Next.
intermittent,
Next. Intermittent.
intermittent,
Next.
hospital,
Okay, next. Hospital. Next. Aristocracy. Next.
laboratory,
Okay, we'll stop here.